go. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Masters Fantasy Show, brought to you by MastersFantasyFootballLeagues.com. My name's Jonathan. That's Dynasty Owl. That's the Doc. We're the Masters crew. What's up, guys? How you doing today?
Doing great.
Yeah, doing good.
Good to hear, man. Ready to talk some Dynasty football. We're talking about some contending teams that are making a run for the money. We're taking a look at the tight end position. Some tight ends we think you should pick up, add to your roster to help you make this stretch run. Kick it over to you, whichever you guys want to go first. Floor's all yours.
I'll start us off here. So I got a big dog who I think's kind of attainable. I mean, this is a guy who, was for sure top 2, top 3 tight end. Is this your guy, Ryan? Is this where you're on?
No, I just know
Okay.
who it
All
is.
right.
I think.
Yeah, I'm sure you do. So this is a guy who, all preseason tight end rankings, top 3, top 2 tight end. Just hasn't quite been there this year. And that's Darren Waller. Had that monster week 1. And then he's really been quiet ever since, got banged up too. And let's not forget, this guy's 29. It took him a while to burst out. So I think there's some people out there who thinks, maybe he was kind of a one-hit wonder. I still think he's a lot more than that. I mean, just his physical makeup's a lot more. I mean, he's just built different. He's a unique guy, has the wide receiver background, but looks like a tight end. So I'm still super optimistic. I know John Gruden's gone, but John Gruden was quoted this year saying it was something like Darren Waller is the best player I've ever coached. So I mean, I think that says a lot, even though it came from Gruden, who, is no longer their coach, but he's just a special talent, I think. And even though it hasn't been happening recently, I think he's going to have a couple monster games or 2 down the stretch, those 25-point games, which at the tight end position is so hard to come by. So he's my guy. Get him while I can. He can help you win a championship.
Yeah, one thing I have to say is I'm pretty sure it was on this same show that we were talking about John Gruden also said Brian Edwards looked like Terrell Owens, right?
Hey, last night, Brian
Edwards
Edwards
finally.
But I just wanted to toss that out there, pump the brakes on what Gruden said. But I do think it can help you down the stretch. But sitting here listening to you talk, and I've never really been a big Darren Waller guy anyway. I know he's been productive, and I know going back to that game 1, I thought that was the only person Derek Carr could see.
Yeah,
it was kind of crazy. The 19 targets in game 1 actually, and the most he had 11 a couple of weeks ago. I guess what I'm getting at for me, when you brought up his age, and I know he's been great last year, and he's had some flashes this year. The moment you hit his age, the first thing that registered with me was I'm selling him in dynasty football.
Yeah.
I'm trying to cash in on that positional advantage. Just tossing it out there. Doc, you agree? You buying or selling? I love him for the reason you said, Dynasty Owl. I'm just saying overall.
Right. And I can see selling, if you're not a contender, if you're middle of the pack or a rebuilding type team. But for a contender, I think goodbye now. Yeah, I could see selling them too.
I agree, but I'd use them let me rephrase that. I'd use them for the run, then I'd ship them out as quick as I could.
Yeah. Yep.
I can respect that. That's kind of how I see it. I feel like if you have him, I don't know that I'd really sell him unless, again, like you guys said, unless I stunk and wasn't a contender. But definitely agree he's a good buy now if you want to make that push. But
agree.
After that, it is a little fuzzier than it seemed, a couple months ago. So my is going to be Mike Gesicki. I'm just going to slide right into that one. So he's a guy that's actually performed really well. I know. That's part of the reason I think it's going to be attainable to get him. So
that goose eggs hurt this week.
I know.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Brian Edwards had a goose egg and then came back with that game.
So Gesicki's been a top 5 tight end. I actually think he was 3rd. That probably won't hold after a goose egg once those numbers kind of update. But he's been under 10 points the last 3 weeks. But despite that, I don't think Tua is the best quarterback in the world. But, I mean, there is a little bit of a difference between his workload when Brissett's there and when Tua's there. I just feel like Tua looks for him a lot, too. I mean, even though he didn't do well, 7 targets in a goose egg game. I mean, the odds of that happening, not great, but hey, what we look for is the targets. I mean, he's a guy that's looked at quite a bit in this offense. And I still think he's really affordable just because it's Mike Gesicki. His name doesn't carry that kind of weight, but his numbers would kind of indicate that he's up in that group of upper tight ends more so than the rest of those guys. So I think it's a guy that's affordable and that can really help you win a league. I know the 0 is bad and he hasn't been great the last couple of weeks, but I just think that makes him affordable. And for that reason, he's a guy I want to go get. And again, similar to my other picks in the other shows, this guy's still relatively young. I think probably 25, 26, if I had to guess. I don't know off the top of my head, but I think he's also a guy that can help you as a building block going forward. So that's my guy, Mike Gesicki.
Yeah, I like
Scoop.
I like Gesicki. I'm a little concerned about him this year, but obviously better things to come than what we've seen the last couple weeks. So if you can buy him on that dip, long term, I really like Gesicki. And as you were sitting here talking, I loved everything you said. I also had Deshaun Watson in my head and thinking of future possibilities with Gesicki.
Right.
Just something to keep. I mean, if that happens, I think dynasty value would skyrocket. So I just like adding them all together if you can get them. I will add one thing I wanted to say about his goose egg this week. I thought was funny. I was going through checking all my teams, and you know how it'll say like, you have like one yet to play, 2 yet to play. So there's a couple of them I like just kind of scroll down real quick to see what positions I have going. So I'm like, oh dang, tight end, I'm good to go. I need 6 out of my tight end.
Yeah.
And then somewhere about I actually seen which I'm like, oh dang, it's Gesicki. He already played. That's 0 hurt. That's all.
Same thing happened to me where I got excited that I was beating Evan actually in our one league, and then I looked and I was like, oh yeah, he got a 0 out of his tight end. Like that's why the numbers are so skewed. And he ended up smacking me around a little bit. So shame.
Or maybe they're right. He is yet to play. Maybe I was right. He is yet to play till next week. So.
Yeah, he basically didn't play.
Basically, that's what it's.
One little quick thing on Gesicki, kind of a good and bad thing. So the 2 things I look for most in receivers and tight ends from a stat perspective, which neither one count at all for fantasy points. That's targets, like the doc mentioned. The other one's like just their snap counts and their, how many snaps they played and what percentage. Gesicki's have been low most weeks, which I've noticed it because I've got Gesicki in a few leagues, and just watching some of the Dolphins, like I get frustrated sometimes because he's not always on the field. I forget, is it Smythe, like number 81? They've got he's in Notre Dame. I forgot he's in Notre Dame.
Yes, sir.
But yeah, so like that's the only thing that worries me. But he's such a good receiver, and I think that's kind of part of it, just because they use Gesicki more in that receiver, big slot type role that he, they don't use him like a true tight end necessarily. So I think it could be a good or bad thing, but just one of the weird things, which I mean, he had 7 targets. So usually you don't have a goose egg with 7 targets, but I mean, when you only play 62% of snaps, sometimes that leads to a goose egg.
Yeah, which is weird. So, and I actually have a question based on that, because for me, every time I've watched Gesicki, he's passed the eyeball test for me. I'm like, man, that guy can play. He's young. Yeah. So when I see these goose eggs, when I see these low stats, I'm always putting it on. It's Tua, it's the Dolphins. Am I missing something? Or,
I think he really is good as a receiver and all that. I think they just kind of question his, blocking and role as an inline traditional tight end is my guess. Why they use Smythe, if I'm pronouncing that right, Dak. But, so I think sort of in ways that parallels Evan Ingram a little bit. We talked about Evan Ingram being like, a difference early in his career. Like he was like, this awesome tight end who was like a receiver guy. But, at the end of the day, like I kind of like having a tight end who, like a Kittle, like a Kelsey, like a Hawkinson. But I mean, I still think he can score fantasy points. So from a fantasy perspective, not that worried.
Because I'm not as good at player comps like you guys, but sometimes when I see Gesicki making some of these, outrageous catches one-handed with his length, like I see a little bit of Jimmy Graham there.
Yeah.
But
I feel like I'd be more worried if his targets were around like 3 or 4 a game, and he hadn't been like the third tight end scoring up until this point. But it's a valid concern, but I feel like there's enough out there that makes me feel like okay with the fact that he's not in there for blocking reps, really.
Right. Me too. So, all right.
But yeah, normally that would bother me as well.
All right. Good stuff. Both you guys picked great tight ends. You guys are both wrong, by the way. Nice picks. You took a stab at it. I appreciate it. But now I'm going to tell you guys the tight end to go pick up for the rest of the season down the stretch. Pretty easy, as I'm pretty sure he's probably the greatest tight end to ever play. So you might want to, toss his name in the mix. Rob Gronkowski. Come on, guys. Tampa Bay's lost 2 in a row. Tom Brady needs Gronk back to help him down the stretch. I mean, look, we've seen down the stretch last season, Gronk got more and more involved. Tom can't wait for him to get back. I can't wait for him to get back. His value has definitely dipped from where it was. I mean, I'll be honest, man, when we talked about it 2 weeks into it, we were wondering, hey, could Gronk outscore Kelsey? I'm pretty sure 2 of us thought that he could. The injury hits, the injury hits, Gronk goes down. What I wanted to say is after those first couple weeks, not Kelsey-like, but I seen trades start to approach like Kelsey-like value on Gronk. No, I shouldn't even say that. I'm saying I hadn't seen Gronk bring a first-round pick in a long time.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, a young tight end and a first was coming in for Gronk, and I wasn't even questioning it. Like, you know what? Hey, man, I'm looking at Kelsey's age, looking at his age. Regardless of what his long-term future is going to be, he's going to finish the season strong. He'll be a guy that you'll feel good about putting in your starting lineup.
I love it.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, I thought he was going to outdo Kelsey, and after that, his ribs basically exploded into a million pieces. So we were basically the kiss of death for Gronk's comeback season. But I do think, once he does get healthy, it's going to be back to the same. He's going to be a touchdown machine. And yeah, I mean, Brady just looks, when you watch the Buccaneers the last couple of weeks, he looks like he needs Gronk back. He wants him back. You could tell he needs that guy that he can dump to and feel comfortable with. So I think he's going to be in for a pretty big target load. And yeah, I think he's going to make some noise down the stretch.
One more thing I want to add to that too, where I would be a little more concerned about Gronk. And Doc, you're the doctor, so you can clear this up for me, man. I run leagues, I do trades, but I like that it's not like a knee injury or an ankle injury, or Gronk's coming back. He's got, and I'm not saying a rib injury was easy, but I feel like mechanically, Gronk's going to be okay once he heals up. It feels more of a pain management injury than like more abuse on another, knee or something like that, if that makes sense.
Right. Yeah, I totally agree. It's similar to, with Baker and the whole shoulder thing. Like, yeah, it hurts. And yeah, it's gonna be tough to play through a little bit, but realistically, the things you need to do, it doesn't really hamper you. I mean, Gronk is a physical guy. He's a physical guy, so he's gonna take some shots to those ribs. But yeah, I'm with you. Like mechanically, I mean, he should be able to do everything he has to do.
Right. And there's only one difference was that pre-injury, Gronk could play tight end. So
yeah.
We got that, and I had to take one more shot at the job. So
yeah.
All right, guys.
That's fair.
Was that it?
It's earned. Yes.
Yeah,
all right, good stuff. As always, thanks so much for watching. If you guys could hit the like and subscribe button, come be a part of the Masters family. Love to have you. Any last words, guys?
Thanks for listening.
Boom.